Because emotional safety is something that people feel all the time, but don't always know how to explain. Because a lot of us were taught to look for chemistry, attraction, familiarity, all the things that feel intense. But nobody really just sat us down and said, hey, just because something feels strong doesn't mean it's safe. And that right there is how people end up in relationships, be it romantic, friendship, or even family dynamics that slowly wear them down while calling it a connection. Emotional safety isn't loud, it's not chaotic, and it's not that up and down roller coaster that keeps you guessing. It's steady, it's predictable, it's the kind of space where your nervous system can actually relax instead of constantly trying to read the room. And if you grew up in environments where things were unpredictable, where you had to be hyper vigilant or hyper aware of people's moods or reactions, safety can actually feel very unfamiliar, sometimes even boring. And that's where people get tripped up because they mistake intensity for connection and calm for a lack of interest. One of the easiest ways to recognize emotional safety is how your body feels around people. Not what they say, not what they promise. Your body, do you feel relaxed or do you feel like you're constantly on edge? Are you able to be present or are you overthinking everything that you say? Safe people don't make you feel like you have to perform or shrink or calculate your words just to avoid a negative reaction. You can speak, pause, think, and exist without feeling like you're walking into a trap. Safe people are also very consistent, not perfect, but consistent. Their behavior doesn't swing wildly depending on their mood, your mood, or the day of the week. You don't have to guess where you stand with them. You don't have to decode their tone or read between the lines of every message. What you see is genuinely what you get. And that consistency is what allows trust to build naturally instead of you having to convince yourself that things are okay when they're really not. Now, let's talk about emotionally unsafe people because this is where a lot of people get caught up. And you'll understand that unsafe doesn't always mean abusive or obnoxiously toxic. Sometimes it's subtle. It's inconsistency, it's unpredictability, it's someone being warm one day and distant the next with zero explanation. It's conversations that leave you confused instead of clear. It's feeling like you have to manage their emotions just to keep the peace. You know that feeling where you replay a conversation afterwards, trying to figure it out if you said something wrong, or you hesitate before speaking because you're not sure how they're going to react. That's not you being sensitive, that's your system picking up on a lack of safety. And unsafe people often require you to abandon parts of yourself in order to maintain that relationship. You might find yourself holding back your thoughts or downplaying your feelings or over explaining just to avoid the conflict. You might feel like you have to be on all the time, fun enough, agreeable enough, calm enough, just to keep things smooth. And over time, that gets exhausting because you're not actually being yourself, you're managing the dynamic. Another big sign is how conflict is handled. Safe people have uncomfortable conversations without turning them into emotional chaos. You can disagree, you can express yourself, and still feel respected. Whereas unsafe people, on the other hand, they tend to escalate, dismiss, or deflect, or even completely shut down. So instead of resolving anything, you're left feeling worse than when the conversation started. And if we're going to be real, sometimes we stay in these unsafe dynamics, not because we don't see the signs, but because it feels familiar. If you're used to earning love or providing or proving yourself or navigating unpredictable behavior, you might confuse that with connection. And it feels like something you know how to handle, but familiar doesn't mean healthy. It just means that you've experienced it before. And recognizing emotional safety is less about analyzing people and more about paying attention to your experience around them. Do you feel more like yourself or less like yourself? Do you feel grounded?
Can't myself.